All right, welcome to another episode of Law Dog Corvette. In this episode, we're going to be putting together the driver's side dash. You can see this is my old dash and it's completely bare. The only thing I have in the dash is the Astro ventilation vent that has been installed, and I actually never took that out. So the dash is in pretty good shape. However, it was a camel color and I'm going to a black. So in a prior episode, we already spray painted with interior dye to black. And then of course I had to rebuild this little tab right here. I want to show it to you. It's this tab right here. It was broken off, and then we did some very unique and creative fiberglass work to build that up. So I'll have a screw to screw into my plate that fits underneath the steering column. All right, so of course we have the speedometer and the tachometer. Those get installed, and then of course all the lights on the back of the speedometer and tachometer housing units. All right, so here we go. Before I start, let me just say, hey, a shout out to Corvette builders and their wives. You can see I am not in a garage. I am in our formal living room. And, you know, God bless my wife who allows me to take over the formal living room to rebuild a Corvette driver's side dash. So, hey, if you have a wife that is understanding, put it in the chat. You know, our wives put up with a lot of stuff, and I know she does. So I just appreciate having her give up her formal dining room for my ridiculous hobby. All right, so here we go. All right, so let's just turn it around. And of course, the first thing we need to do is we need to put on the two housings. And these two housings, they're interchangeable. They're gonna look just like this. I went ahead and cleaned mine up. They didn't need much work, but they sit on just like that. And you'll see we have a screw here and a screw here. And again, screw here and here, and we'll go ahead and put those screws in right now. All right, so those are in. All right, your next step is to put our housings on. Now's a good time to clean up this piece of plastic. I was able to reuse this plastic, but I was not able to reuse this piece. Whenever you go to take these on, almost 100% these plastic pieces are gonna be dry rotted and just crumble. Those are what mine did. I purchased these from C3 Corvette. Part number will be on the screen just below. Again, C3 Corvette is an excellent place to get all your parts. For me, Zips is just right down the street, so I get excellent shipping time as well. So it just fits on just like that. You're gonna line it up with these two screws, and they have little pins to line it up, and then you'll have a screw down at the bottom as well. So again, now's a good time to clean up this piece of plastic, and they just fit on just like that. And now you're going to switch to 1/4 inch screws. All right, so there we are. And let's take a look at this and see what it looks like on the other side. And you can see we've got the bezels, the back plastic area kind of gives us that 3D look. And now we'll go ahead and attach speeds. So we're going to set this out of the way. All right. So here's your housing. It's kind of nice because it's marked on the back right here. It says Speedo. The other one is marked Tach, so you can't get them confused. You'll also notice that the Speedo, they're basically the same, but the Speedo has this little hole here. This is your Tripometer Reset cable. It goes right in there. But it says Speedo, and you've got 4 lights. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your back lights to light up the speedometer. And then you have a turn signal here, and you have your bright light indicator here. So turn signal and bright light indicator. And then it just basically looks like this on the inside. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to take this piece right here. Now this piece is going to be have a green on the bottom and blue on the top. And green on the bottom is going to coincide with a turn signal indicator, and that will be on the face. And then on the top it's going to say bright, and you can't really see it right now, but this is blue, and inside the blue it has the word bright, and you'll see where that goes in a second when we put it on. So these little tabs just line up right in there, and so it just fits just like that. All right, and that's where it stays. It's going to get sandwiched with this guy. All right, we've already done a video. You can see that this speedometer is our odometer is already reset to 0, and if you are interested on how you reset your odometer to 0, there will be a link, and it'll be right up there or there, one of the two. And so we already have those at 0, and we've attached the odometer, speedometer mechanical device to the back of the face, so that looks good. And so you're going to line up these 3 pinholes with these, one here and one here. So it's just going to go basically like that. And on the back, that piece is free. This is going to be the clip that holds on your speedometer cable. It fits on right there. And then of course we're going to have 2 screws here and here. Those screws are 1/4 inch. And they also have these rubber gaskets on them. Those rubber gaskets are important because it's to keep this mechanical housing kind of steady, because it's going to be vibrating, so it keeps it from vibrating. And also on the original equipment, this whole housing was a ground. Of course, when we get into wiring in a few minutes, I'll show you that my back of the housing is not going to be a ground, and I'll tell you why later. But make sure these little plastic or rubber washers are there, and so it's going to look just like that. And so as your speedometer cable spins, there we go, I can get it almost at 25 miles an hour. There we go. And that's that. Your tachometer looks very similar, but we already have a tach, and I've got a wire or I started the wiring on this one. So this is a 1168 plug. I've got it sitting here with an LED light. This is another blinker indicator, and this is your emergency brake light indicator here. So just like the same, you're gonna have this piece, and you might be able to see it. It says brake right there, and then we have a green light, or a light that's gonna shine green for your turn signal. And again, this piece is going to sit in just like that. And now we kind of have to take a break because I am not going to use a mechanical tachometer. 1974 Corvette was a mechanical tachometer, and I'm not using that. I'll be using this little device. This little device came from Zips Corvette. It's a electric tachometer conversion. I'm running HMI ignition, so I have the brown wire that comes off of the ignition coil or the electronic ignition, so I can run a tachometer that's an electronic tachometer. You can see this little piece right here. That is the piece that spins according to how many pulses it gets on this green wire. You've got red for power, black for ground, and this green wire is going to hook up to the brown wire on the painless wiring harness series, and that's going to go right directly to your distributor. So in order to make this work, you have to attach your face, and we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So here's our face, our tachometer, and I clean that up. I am redlining at 5,300 RPM, yellow line at 5,000. Small screws, and it's going to go right there. Just be super careful here. You do not want that little a place where the tachometer needle fits on. Very, very delicate. You do not want to bend it, because that will obviously ruin your situation. All right, tachometer installed, our tachometer face installed, and you can see we still have that needle right there. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to put a needle on it. Now, I've got some choices of needles here. I actually have my original gauges, plus I picked up a set of gauges online, so I can pick whichever needle I think is the best looking of them. I already have a needle on the speedometer, and they all look in pretty decent shape, and they all come off a 74. I think I like this one the best, but I can't even tell you why I like this one the best. All right, here we go. It's at 0. You just want to give it a little tug. All right. All right, there's our needle. Sir, the electronic device of the tachometer is going to sit right back in that little spot. line up with those two things. All right, there we go. And so we got 2 screws. And there's 2. All right. Well, that should do it. All right, so now we have these 2 pieces done. Of course, they're gonna look like this. Speedometer on the left-hand side and tachometer on the right-hand side. Tachometer is here, speedometer is here. Of course, when you flip it, the speedometer is on this side and the tachometer is this side. So just remember, when you're hooking these up, your speedometer is towards the outside, and this is your outside edge. This is your inside edge. So let's go ahead and do the speedometer first. And again, 1/4 inch. Make sure that when you tighten these down, you are messing with plastic. So be careful. All right, it's looking pretty good. All right, now the tachometer. Next thing we're gonna do are these brackets. You'll notice as we put this together that the top here is connected, but there's nothing actually connecting the bottom, so you could move it like this. And so, all right, so you need these brackets, and this one is labeled Speedo, and this bracket sits right like that. And then this bracket, which we're gonna clean up before I install it, sits just like that. And that will hold the bottom of these gauges to the bottom of the dash so they don't flop around. All right. All right, it's the next night and we've done a few things here. First, we have installed this bracket here after a little bit of painting. Now remember, these brackets, this one and this one, attach the bottom assembly to the bottom of the dashboard so it doesn't flop around. We also installed this piece. This piece is basically keeps the 2 lenses separated so you don't get flex right in here in the dash. A common place for these dashes to break is right along here, and this piece here allows for extra support on the 2 heaviest portions. All right, so that's basically the installation of both of the tachometer and the speedometer. Now, of course, we talked about the electric tach, and you saw me install that. The electric tach has 3 wires to it. It has a ground wire, it has a power wire, and it has the wire that comes from the distributor. And so the power wire is this red wire right here, and then we have a quick connect there. And so this will go to ignition power. We have this green wire also is going to be connect right here. In our wiring harness, that wire is brown in the painless wire, and that wire goes directly to the distributor. And then of course we have a ground here. This is the e-brake indicator light. It just has 2 wires. We have the ground. This is just a simple ground harness. And then this wire here will eventually go to the e-brake, a switch that's attached to the emergency brake handle. So that's that. All right, our next thing to do is to install this guy. Went ahead and cleaned it up a little bit, put some black paint on it, but this is the Tripometer Reset. You push that in and turn it, and you can see that it turns that little thing. That goes right in there with this guy. So you actually start by finding where it is, and you twist that guy on, and yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, so the Tripometer Reset is gonna go from here to this hole, not this hole. It fits in both of them, but in this position, it fits this length of cable. So this position over here, I think, was a different model. Maybe it had a different length cable for some reason. All right, so the next portion is to actually hook up your gauge lights, and we are using LED lights, so they look like this. And that is originally with incandescent lights, this back was a ground. And so right on this screw right here and on this screw right here, there would be a grounding plug. So positive would come in and it would ground to the back of the housing, and then ground out there. We're not doing that. We're using these plugs, and these already come with their own individual ground. So I've got 2 harnesses, 4 for each side. So these just fit in pretty easy. Just like that. And the same thing over here. Now you notice we have a couple more. We've got this one here and this one. This is your turn signal. So you have a turn signal here and a turn signal here. Remember, this is the outside of the car, and this is the inside of the car. So this would be your left turn signal, and this would be your right turn signal. We've already talked about this. This is your emergency brake indicator light, and this one right here is your bright indicator light, so your brights are on. We've already got the turn signal lights wired up in the car right now, and also the bright wired up in the car. So as we put this in, we'll just plug those 3 lights in. So with those lights on, that is basically a finished product. The only thing left is to connect the speedometer cable, these indicator lights and then put it up into the vehicle. Once it's in the vehicle, then of course this is where the steering column goes, and then there's the steering column cover that goes right here. And that's pretty much the final product. So before we go, I want to show you what it looks like. And so, all right, hold on, don't do it. All right, so now we got our lights out so you can see what's going on. Of course, we've got a small 12-volt battery just to test these lights out. And then, so 3, 2, 1. And that is what your gauges will look like. Of course, they look blue. And that's because, if you remember, the inside of the housing was painted blue, and we're shining bright white LED lights onto that. It's picking up that blue, and it's got a nice blue tint to it. That, and yeah, they're super bright. Really am pleased with that look. I can turn off. Turn the lights back. All right, so that's the finished product. We do have to hook up the lights, but my light switch is already hooked up into the car. So when this comes in, we'll take the light switch off, put it back in, mount this in the back here. And this will be a final product of your 1974 Corvette driver dash pad. Hey, if you like the channel, give it a thumbs up. If you really like the channel, consider subscribing. We're sitting at about 160 subscribers. We've been doing this for about 4 months, and I'd love to see that number get up to 200. Give us a favor, subscribe. Talk to you later.